Hey everybody, it's Jared with Big Mill Motorsports here. Let's see what's new. So we raced this past weekend, um, but I wanted to first start with I finally got a welder in here. I bought a Miller-Matic 211. Just got the gas bottle today. It's pretty geeked out. I haven't really done much with it yet, other than just tack some scrap metal together. But so far it's pretty cool. I like it. It's simple because I mean I've welded a lot before. I'm not awesome at it, but setting up the welder has always been my problem. So this has got the auto set. So far it's been pretty handy. If you guys are interested, I might do a review on that once I play with it some more, and we'll see how that goes. But either way, so we were at Anderson Speedway on Saturday. So it was my first race on asphalt this year. One of my most favorite tracks, Anderson Speedway, quarter-mile high banked. It's kind of like a small Bristol, very high banked. I think the banking is almost equal to Bristol's banking, and really fast. The track promoters are great. It's it was the Fritz Dietzen Memorial Race, which is started at 100 laps, I think 15 or 18 years ago. Then several years back it went to 75, then it went to 50, and now it's two 25 lap segments. But so, you know, I hadn't raced on asphalt for a while, and I had brand new asphalt tires on the car that I hadn't broken in yet. I knew that the way that they did the cycle of practices, that I would only get 2 practices for the race before we qualified, and so I didn't really want to waste one of those breaking in tires. So I ended up renting the track for a couple hours before they opened the pit gates. I invited Steve Parton and Ashley Tackett to come along. They run on dirt with me. Steve, I think, had maybe ran asphalt once, and it was a flat track, either Kentucky or Atlanta Speedway, you know, very flat, bottom hugger kind of track. And Ashley had never ran dirt before. So I invited them to come to the practice ahead of time and get them a little bit more comfortable with Anderson and go through with that. And I think it worked out well for them. They, you know, got to get out there, get some laps. I showed them kind of generally what the good line is. Steve was having fun. I think Ashley was having fun. Maybe a little intimidated at first because, you know, it is a very fast track. But you know, for me, it ended up being a waste of several $100s. So I was broken in the tire. I broke in the tires. Then when I went back out and pushed the car a little bit harder, I noticed I had a vibration. Went back out again, pushed the car a little bit harder. Vibration was getting worse. I came in, checked. You know, I hadn't changed. I'm running the same gear that I ran at Brush Creek the week before. I hadn't changed anything other than the wheels, tires, and springs. So I checked, and my drive shaft was wobbling like all heck. So I could not run 50 laps that night with that. I'm sure I would either destroy the drive shaft or, even worse, the output shaft of the engine. I'm pretty sure I would have broken something there. So it's kind of freaking out. When all the rest of our competitors got there, I kind of went around trying to beg and plead, see if I could borrow or buy a drive shaft from anybody. And luckily, Doug Duggar, who had brought 3 cars, I think he had 2 of his friends running 2 of the cars, and he was going to run the 3rd car. He offered the drive shaft out of his car for me, and I didn't want to take it because I don't want to take away somebody else's ride. And then he realized he forgot his helmet, I guess. So with that, the guys that were with him helped pull the drive shaft out of his car. I pulled the drive shaft out of my car, put his drive shaft in there, and that solved the problem. It was quite the whirlwind event because I had to wait for everybody to show up. We got the first official practice out there with everybody, the timed practice. And the vibration was still bad enough that that's when I decided to make the change. So I was able to swap the drive shafts between first and second practice. Got out there for the second practice literally like kind of right at the last minute, but I was able to get out there, and luckily that the drive shaft was the problem. So the problem at that point is that I really hadn't had a chance to work on the setup on the car at all. I didn't get a chance to really adjust anything because I was worried about the drive shaft the whole time. So the second practice is when I realized that I had an issue with getting super loose under braking into the corner, and made some changes, and it kind of haunted me all night. Either way, I kind of went into the night thinking, hey, where I wanted to be time-wise, what I thought it would be to be at least maybe middle of the pack is kind of what I was hoping for. I was really hoping for a top 5. But I was thinking, most of the time qualifying, the poles generally in the high 1390s, low 14 flats. I was thinking that if I could run a 14.3, that I'd probably be pretty competitive. Middle of the pack, at least based upon the history that I've ran there. And to my surprise, I actually qualified at a 14.2 something, mid 14.2. So that was, for me, I saw that come up on the board and I was like, hell yeah, I exceeded my expectations. The only hard part is there was a boatload of fast cars there. The top 4 cars all qualified under 13 or in the 13.9s, and the next several cars were in the 14 flats. So unfortunately, what I thought was a decent time ended up being 9th out of 13 cars. So that was a little depressing and frustrating. Made some more changes to the car, and I just didn't do good. Unfortunately, so Steve and Ashley both came, and they drove 4.5 hours to come to this race and to race on asphalt. And Steve, unfortunately, after our practice sessions, we noticed that he had some oil leaks, and we thought we fixed those oil leaks, and it turns out when we fixed those oil leaks, it caused it to leak in other places. So unfortunately, he drove all that way and didn't even get to qualify because he had too many oil leaks. They wouldn't let him on the track. Probably the safe thing for the track to do, but kind of sucked for him. Ashley, on the other hand, did great. As it is at Anderson, they do single car qualifying. You get 2 timed laps, and that's it. So it's kind of a pressure-filled type of qualifying system, but it's fun. And unfortunately, she qualified about a half a second slower than what she'd been running in practice. But that's kind of, I don't want to say that's normal, but people tend to qualify a little bit slower than what they run in the practices. But either way, so she ran the race. She did a great job. I think she did really good, and then once she got lapped, you're kind of screwed. By the time she got lapped, the field had spread out a little bit, and she was pretty much spending the rest of the time staying out of everybody else's way, which meant she couldn't get up and run the proper line to be fast to even learn more. After the halftime break, we made some adjustments to her car. She went back out and got faster. But again, once she got lapped again, she was pretty much playing, you stay away from everybody else, and didn't give her an opportunity to really push the car and to really challenge herself that much more. But she said she had a lot of fun, probably intimidated a lot because there's a lot of speed, a lot of grip, and you're like, getting pushed down into the corners. But she did a great job, and she didn't wreck the car. And so, I'm happy that she had fun. For me, I started 9th, and for the first half of the race, I was racing side by side with 10th place. I'd get ahead of him, and then he'd get ahead of me, and then I'd get ahead of him, and we go back and forth like that. And it was fun. Even though it was for 9th and 10th place, I was having a decent amount of fun. It was good, clean racing between the two of us. And but my car, just loose under braking, was killing me. I'd get in front of him, and I couldn't push the car to pull away because I was worried about spinning out or getting too loose and right in front of him. So that was frustrating. I'd actually passed him, what I thought was like a good solid pass, like with 2 laps to go before the halftime break. And with 1 lap to go, I got it way loose into the corner and he passed me, and so I finished the first half in 10th place. We came into the pits. They had a designated area for us in the pits, and they sent a late model feature out. So we were able to make just quick adjustments. We're not allowed to change any parts, but we could change cross, we could change tire pressures. I actually adjusted my rear brakes at the halftime, and then once the late models were done, we went right back out. And so we go back out, and I made some cross adjustments to the front. I adjusted my rear brakes, thinking that that was causing me a little bit of the issues, and I wasn't any better the second half. And unfortunately, the guy that I was racing with the first half made good changes to his car, and he gained 0.2 of a second between the first half and the second half. I maybe gained, a half a tenth, if even that. So I found myself racing with myself for a lot on the second half of the race. Right off the bat, he got the lead on me, and he ended up pulling away a decent amount. And, it's one of the most frustrating things as a driver. It's probably 5 to 10 laps into that, and I can tell he's checking out a little bit on me, and he's 5 to 6 car lengths ahead of me. I probably have 20 car lengths or whatever, more than that, to the person behind me. And, and I'm driving as hard as I can. The car isn't feeling good. And I'm like, dude, screw this, man. I'm not having fun. I'm literally talking to myself while I'm going around the track at 85 miles an hour, wheeling it into the corner. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to sell the car. I'm not having fun. This is frustrating. This isn't what I wanted to be. I don't mind, being back there if I'm competitive, or if I'm racing with other people, or if I'm making progress. And I just sucked. And I know it was my first time back on asphalt, but Anderson, honestly, like, I typically qualify in the 14 flats. I've gotten fast time qualifying at Anderson several times for the past couple years. Never won a race there that didn't involve other people getting DQ'd. But I've ran 1390s in heat races and feature races. So I knew skill-wise I could do it. I made a mistake trying to do the setup myself, and the Miller Performance guys offered to help me out, and I thought I was doing good on my own, and I should have taken them up on the offer. I'm sure, seeing that they got 1-2 in the race, that they could have hooked me up with a little bit of help there if I wasn't so dead set on figuring stuff out myself. But I was just like frustrated, and I'm finding myself for the past several weeks having these cycles of frustration like that, where I'm racing, and by the end of the race I'm just frustrated with myself, with my performance, and I'm like, screw it, I'm gonna sell the car. On the whole drive home, it's always, I'm talking to the dog, I'm talking to Thomas, and I'm gonna sell the car, I'm gonna do something else, I'm gonna buy a hot rod, maybe build a rat rod, do some stuff like that. So I'm like that the whole way home. Then on Sunday, I unload the trailer, clean everything out, at least get things, cleaned off. But I'm still like, man, screw it. And then Monday comes around, and I, chill on Mondays. Tuesday, I do my vlog here, and I'm usually a little bit more upbeat about it. Work on the car a little bit Tuesday nights. Thursday night comes around, and I'm more eager. I'm out in the garage, and I'm like, okay, you know what? I can do better this week. I can do better. So I work hard on the car, trying to change things, make things better. And then Saturday comes around, I'm excited for the race. Go to the racetrack, I'm excited all day. The race happens, and then I'm back right to where I started with, screw it, I want to sell the car. I went through a lot of this last year on asphalt, and ended up selling my best car, or my primary car that I'd put a boatload of money in. It was a very fast car, and I ended up selling that because I needed to make a change. And I don't know, I'm going through this cycle now, and it's frustrating. I was thinking a couple years back, I was talking to a friend of mine who's a crew chief in NASCAR, and we're out to lunch, and we were talking about racing and talking about the racing that I do. And when I was telling him, you know, oh yeah, I race legends and all this kind of stuff, and he's like, it's like, man, I don't know that I could race and not know that I could win every week. And he's been very successful. I went to college with him, but before college, he was a successful crew chief in the Northeast Modifieds Tour, and obviously he's a crew chief in Sprint Cup now, or Monster Energy Cup, and he's super successful and has won at every level that he's been at. But having that conversation with him at the time, I was like, man, I don't know. I think I can get better. I'm learning. I still haven't won yet, but I can try, and I can do more, and I can get there. And I didn't really understand what he had said by, you know, I don't know if I could race without being without having an opportunity to win. And now I'm kind of feeling that. I understand what he was talking about. It's frustrating knowing that when you go to the racetrack, you're not going to win. Yeah, there's always a chance, right? You know, the 5 cars ahead of me could always crash out. That's pretty much how I've gotten my best finishes on dirt this year. But it's kind of frustrating. You know, you're essentially a field filler. I'm not going to get any better. Maybe on dirt I'll get a little bit better. But you know, I'm a good driver, but I'm not a great driver. Even with the best equipment that I had, I could be a top 3 car, maybe a top 5 car, but I still couldn't compete for the lead. If you looked at my stats, I'd have a respectable number of top 3s, but if I broke it down into top 2s, I'd probably have like 4, right? So, and they would all be 2s, obviously. So it's frustrating, and I'm not sure that I want to do that. I'm not sure that it's fun. Racing's fun. I mean, don't get me wrong. When I'm out there driving and I'm competing with somebody else, I'm having a blast. But I don't know if it's worth all the work if I'm not going to be good enough to have a chance, you know. So I don't know. Maybe it's all head trash, and I'm gotta get my head straight or something like that. But we'll see. Either way, I may or may not sell the car at the end of the season. I have decided that I am at least going to race the rest of the season, barring any major wrecks. If I have a major wreck, who knows? I might just say screw it. But I am going to race the rest of the season, and then we'll see what happens once the season's over. So with that, I am going to race this weekend, or at least weather permitting. There's a HillBilly 100 race, and I'm not sure. I think it's Tyler County Speedway in Virginia or West Virginia, I don't know. But Tyler County Speedway's got they do their big HillBilly 100, which I guess is like a $25,000 to win late model race, and they're having Legends as to be a support class, I guess, that same night as their big race. And it's about 4 hours away from here. That weekend is my wife's birthday, and thankfully my wife has decided to rent a cabin for a couple days and wants to spend some time doing some writing and you know, kind of chilling by herself. So, you know, I'm free to do whatever I want that weekend. So right now I have notified the promoter that I plan on attending. He told me that, hey, they've got 25 cars that are planning on attending this Saturday. So, or I think the race is this Sunday, being Labor Day weekend. So that 25 cars, that sounds cool. Big race, a lot of fans, that's always fun. We'll see how we do there. I believe maybe there's another asphalt race at Speedrome after that I'm looking at maybe attending. And then we've got a race at Florence on dirt and bracket Brush Creek on dirt. And then maybe the Atlanta Motorsports Park road course race at the end of the season. I still have to figure out a tire situation for Atlanta Motorsports Park. I don't know if I should take my asphalt tires, and I know you can swap your rights to your lefts backwards, and I've heard that works for some people. I don't know. I don't really want to buy a brand new set of asphalt road course tires to try it out once. So I'll probably figure out what I'm going to do with the tires and go from there. So we'll see. We are racing this weekend. The weather looks kind of shady. I think right now it's about 30 to 40% chance of showers. That being 4 hours away, I am probably not going to go. I'm definitely not going to go if it's a higher than 50% chance of showers. But we'll kind of judge to see as we get closer what the weather looks like. So I think that's about it. If you have any other questions or comments, thoughts, go ahead and leave them in the comments below. Check out our Facebook page. I keep updates on there throughout the week if we're doing work on the car, or if we're making changes, or if there's schedule changes, things like that. Check us out at Big Mo Motorsports on Facebook, and then we'll go from there. All right. I appreciate everybody's watching, and we'll talk to you guys later. All right.